question, why am I here, is probably the one question that's been asked by every single person who's ever lived. Why am I here? What the heck are we doing here anyway? What is your purpose? Why are you here? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me ask you this. How many of you feel that you really, really, really know what your purpose is and that you're on your way to fulfilling it? Great. And how many of you have a vague idea of what your purpose is, and you're not quite sure, you'd like to have a little more clarity about that? Okay? And let's see how many of you, let's see how many truly honest people we're having here. How many of you have no clue what your purpose is? Come on, let me see. We're here to have fun and to learn. First thing is we want to know where we're at. Today, the objective of what I'm going to do here today is, number one, to help those of you who need a little more clarity as to what your purpose is and what you want to, how to find a little bit more meaning in your life. I'd like to give you some tools that'll help you gain a little bit of clarity. The other thing I want to do is for those of you who do have some idea, or maybe a huge amount of idea, you know that you're on purpose, perhaps give you a little bit more insight to how to manifest that purpose in your life right now. Because the truth of the matter is that our purpose, just like the way we express it, the way we go about achieving it, the meaning of our lives, often needs to evolve and change because we constantly are having new information. We grow as we grow and change, and our skills evolve and develop, and different things happen to us. We have different ways of doing it, and if we don't grow and change and everything just stays the same, we're probably not as much on purpose as what we were when we had that aha moment. So hopefully I'll be able to help you get a little bit more insight and give you some momentum, some energy into taking the next steps, into doing the next thing. Because there's one thing knowing your purpose, but there's another thing living your purpose. So if we truly want to be on purpose in our lives, we have to be living it. And there's so many different ways that you can express your purpose in your life and help make this world better. And that's what we're all here for. And the very last thing that I would like to do is to give you some tools to help you stay on track. Because it's so easy in this world of ours to get distracted. I mean, I know I do. You know, it's almost like I need to have a GPS system to keep me on track, you know, because I keep on like going off somewhere. So, as I mentioned, your purpose evolves. This purpose is going to evolve over time. The more information you get, and as you grow and change. And your life, what you'll find for those of you who feel like your purpose is really vague or you're not quite sure what it is, what you'll find is that your whole life is filled with clues about where you can find that meaning, where you can get that. We're going to do some exercises on that. And it really is never too late. You know, a lot of times people see the kinds of work that I do and they'll say to me, geez, Mandy, you know, how is it that you're so lucky you've got this light? You know exactly, you can tell exactly that you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. But it really wasn't always that way. When I left school, like most people, I had no idea of how I could fulfill my purpose. I always felt like I had, you know, this magnetic pull, this calling, this thing that was calling me, but, you know, I couldn't hear what it was saying. Because I had this rock concert going on in my head with a few soap operas and, you know, all kinds of things, a little comedy here and there, and I couldn't hear what the calling was. So when I left school and I started to work, I traveled all over the world. Almost every single year I had a new career. I became, early in my career, I started off as in personnel. And in South Africa, which is where I grew up, I worked in a personnel agency. And it wasn't as if where I lived that women couldn't work or weren't allowed to work, but there were just very big differences. In the personnel agency that I worked in, there was a male division and the female division. And the male division was the place where all the great jobs were the executive jobs and all the jobs where you could really make money were in the male division. And the female division were like the secretarial jobs and the administrative kinds of jobs that I really wasn't all that interested in. So women were really encouraged in our society where I grew up. We were encouraged that when you got, late teens, you were expected to get married, have kids, and that was going to be your life. Now, my mother, when she was young, she always wanted to be either a ballroom dancer or an athlete. She was very good at those things, but her parents would never hear of that. So my mother got married when she was 17, and by the time she was 25, she had 5 kids. Now, my mother was not cut out. I mean, I love my mother, but she was not cut out for the domestic life. And that was a really good lesson for me because I could tell that, that was not for me either. So she was a really good role model in that I could tell this was not what I wanted, right? So I changed jobs. Whoops. I changed jobs. I came to the States. I was an energy auditor in Oklahoma, and I used to measure people's insulation and underneath the houses, go underneath their houses and crawl up in their attics, and I did that. I built a very successful import-export business in Texas, right here in Houston. I did advertising, very successful in the advertising and marketing business in California. Then I moved to Florida and built an insurance agency. And I kept myself very, very busy. And all this while, I kept on feeling that I had this pull, this thing that was just calling me, but I didn't know to where or to what. And it wasn't until a friend of mine insisted that I attend a class called the Silva Method. And that's when I learned to quiet my mind. So I learned to quiet my mind enough to be able to hear my inner voice. And what I discovered was that I didn't really even have a purpose at all. Purpose had me. It had been there all the time. Because looking for your life purpose is what the author C.S. Lewis called the mouse's search for the cat. The purpose is there. It's not like you have to find it. You don't have to discover it. All you have to do is uncover it. The proof is in the very palm of your hands. Look at your hand and look underneath your hand and you can see your skin. And underneath the skin, you can see the muscles and the veins. And inside all of that are cells. And inside your cells, there's DNA. And what is your DNA? It's the guiding purpose of you and your life. It's where your possibilities are stored, your abilities, your qualities. Everything that you are capable of, your potential, is inside 50 to 100 trillion cells, strands of DNA in your body are calling you right now, wanting you to express what it has there for you. When you begin to really uncover the purpose of your life, I think that what you'll find, and I think those of you, especially, I noticed all the Silva instructors had their hands raised when I asked how many of you really feel like you're on purpose. But isn't it like when you look back, when you finally got it and you look back on the life of what had happened, it was almost as if everything was like in stepping stones. Like there was like these guiding things that were calling you and right there for you. And sometimes maybe you weren't aware of it at the time, But when you look at it, you can look back and you discover, wow, that was calling me. Like, for example, I remember when I was in kindergarten, and the teacher would leave the room. Every time the teacher would leave the room, I would get up and start, teaching the class. Then the topic then was like dirty nursery rhymes, but, now it's just the topic's changed. I'm still doing the same thing, right? The teacher leaves the room, okay, here I go. And another thing that I noticed was that when I was in my teens, I was a tap and modern ballet dancer, and I would do competitive dance. And one day, in the middle of a competition, right as I got up and began, all of a sudden I realized that I didn't remember my steps. And here I was, the room was filled, there were thousands of people, it was a major contest, the judges are sitting there, the lights are dim, I'm on stage, the lights are on me, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do next. Totally forget. And all of a sudden, it was as if this light sort of like connected inside of me, and it just kind of took over me as if I was an instrument, and there I was just making it up, just improvising. And from then on, I became like the star improviser. Like every time they used to have one set of things called improvisation. That was like a number, and they would play music. You'd hear it once, and then you had to go on stage. You'd never heard the music before, and you had to dance to the music. And when that happened, I won every single contest on improvisation. And what I learned for myself as far as my expression is concerned, and this relates to what I'm talking about here, is that for me, the way I express it, for every individual it's different, and there's a lot of right ways. What you want to do is find the right way for you. But for me, when I'm really plugged in, I'm getting it, and it is not rehearsed. It is not, I can't stand up there and read like they told me to do at public speaking school. Because that's not how I express my true purpose. When I'm connected, when I'm relating to the people that are in the audience, I know that feeling, right? And that feeling is the same feeling that I had way back then when I was doing that improvisation. That was it. That's the feeling. That's when I know that I'm plugged in. And I knew when I was standing up there, talking, reading my notes, rocking back and forth, God save America, that I was not plugged in. It was a totally different feeling. Do you know what I mean? Okay? So we all have these traits, these things that happen to us through our lives that are the guiding lights for the things that we can do, the indications as to the way we need to express, what we need to express, what are the qualities. And they're there. You have them in front of you. And what I'm going to do later on as we go through, and I am going to speed up my presentation because I was told that we need to kind of get to lunch pretty soon. So I am going to speed things up, but I am going to take you through an exercise a little later where we're actually going to have the opportunity to look through the different parts of your life, because maybe you are on purpose right now, but maybe there's a part of you or a quality or an expression that perhaps if you just remembered something from your past, that maybe, just maybe, it might give you an idea as to how to do it even better than what you're doing it right now. So the past events are really stepping stones. And whether or not you believe in that, it doesn't really matter. I think that what we can all agree is that we all have different forms of personality, different qualities. We're all made up of very different things, and because we have so many different life experiences, so many different qualities, so many ways of expressing it, we all need to bring our individuality, our own personal expression into somehow making this a better world to live in for ourselves, for our families, for our societies, and in turn, the world. Would everybody agree with that? Okay, now, what I am going to talk about, though, is 3 different ways that I'm going to give you to connect with your life purpose. And when I created the program, the Life Purpose Connection, the reason that I worked with the 3 different ways is because I realized that different people respond to different kinds of teaching methods. Some people really respond to inner conscious methods. Some people need some more logic, some more logical things to work with their left brain. And other people tend to be more feeling people, and so I want to help you connect on the feeling level with your heart. So let's talk a little bit about how to use your brain to connect with your life purpose. What are the things that you like about yourself? Not what I like about myself, not what the person next to you likes about yourself. What do you like? What are the traits that you like yourself? And this is, again, this is another one of those things where you don't want to think too much. Just write down whatever comes to mind. So just quickly write down some traits that you like about yourself. We're not going to take too long, so do it now. And then what I'd like you to do is go through those traits and circle the ones that are your favorite. So 2 or 3, no more than 3. Your favorite traits about yourself. Now, after you've got the 3 favorite traits that you like about yourself, what are your favorite ways of expressing those traits? What are your favorite ways of expressing them? So, for example, maybe your favorite way is to teach or to speak or to write or to do massage therapy or to do, to play music or to whatever it is. So what are the favorite ways of expressing yourself? Maybe you enjoy organizing or supporting other people or networking. Maybe you enjoy designing or cleaning or decorating. Maybe that gives you a sense, whatever it is. So what are your favorite ways of expressing those traits, your favorite traits that you have? And when you're done with that, write down your idea. Your idea. Not my idea, Jose Silva's idea, Laura's idea, anybody else's idea. What is your idea of a more perfect world? Like when you envision a better world, when we talk about a better world to live in, what is it that you have in mind? How do you think the world would be better for you? What would make it a better world? Write down just a short, just a short phrase. And then just to begin, this is just a beginning, you can look at what your qualities are, your traits, your favorite ways of expressing the traits, and the end result, and put it together. I want to use my purpose of my life is to use my ABC in whatever the ways are, D, E, F, to whatever it is. Look at your sheet, just like that. And you can refine it. Make sense? So at least for those of you who maybe came in here without that, maybe it'll give you a little bit of a beginning, a place to start. Now, what we teach in the Silva method, of course, is how to use your inner conscious mind. And it's just as important to know when you're on purpose as to know when you're off purpose, because that's the guiding purpose system, the GPS, that's going to keep you back on track. It's just as important to know when you're plugged in to that divine choreography, when you feel like your whole life has meaning, that there's a reason, that there's a cause. It's part of this organized system, part of the way the planets move, part of the way your cells move, that you feel like you're in sync with that. Which is not to say that you don't have any free will in the matter. On the contrary, I would say that probably most people in this world aren't plugged into their purpose. If they were, this world would be a much friendlier, nicer place to live in. And so if more of us could tune into that, I think that this would be a happier world, don't you? Okay, so, but do you also know the difference? I mean, can everybody think of a time when perhaps you felt out of sync, when things didn't feel like you had that kind of like a why me experience? Can everybody think about something like that? Okay, so we've all had those why me experiences where you feel like you're out of sync, like maybe your relationship's not going right, your job, you're feeling dissatisfied, okay? Those are indicators for you. Those are points of reference for you. They're very important points of reference. That's when you know that it's not. It's not good enough just to know when it is. You've got to know when it's not, too. So we need to know the difference between it. The other thing that we need to do with our higher minds is to gain a higher perspective, to get to that 30,000-foot level or whatever, even higher, to be able to look at how our life is, and we're going to do that in the next exercise. And what we're also going to do in the next exercise is we're going to give ourselves a divine gift. So you're going to know from that inner sense, from your intuition, we're going to plug into your intuitive senses, and you're going to intuitively give yourself a gift, what I call a divine gift. Now, in this next exercise, I'm going to talk about your source or your higher intelligence. Does anybody have a problem with that? So you can, if you want to think about it as God, think about it as God. If you want to think about it as love with a capital L, think about it as that. Whatever that is for you, I'm just going to use the term source, wisdom, love, those things, and you interpret it however you want it to be. And then we're going to integrate, using our inner conscious minds, we're going to integrate some of the realizations. You're going to have an opportunity to go through your life experiences and to look and see what are some of the different things in your life and what are the indicators. Is there some message in there? What are the stepping stones that have been there for you all along the way? And you're going to have a moment to kind of let go of the past and step through into the future, and kind of it's a really nice exercise to be able to program your future, program your purpose into your future. You know, the thing is that no matter where you are right now, no matter how old, how young, no matter what it is, you're never ever it's never too late to tap into the purpose of your life. I talked a little bit about my mom, who wanted to be a ballroom dancer and or an athlete. And a few years ago, about 12 years ago, I brought my mom out from South Africa to live with me in the States. And she's great. You know, my mother's a real character. But what I had her living with me and working with me at the time, and it was really tough. It was really difficult. As I said, she's my greatest teacher. And eventually, after a few years, I moved her out. I got her an apartment, I moved her out, and then I was like, you know, I said, Mom, I tell you what, I'm going to keep paying you, but the only condition is that I'm going to pay you not to come into the office. Like, you're not coming into the office anymore. I'm paying you not to work for me. And it caused a big fight, you know. I mean, she was very hurt by it, as I don't blame her. I mean, I can imagine. But I also knew that I had to do it for me. So she said, well, what am I going to do? Because at that time, she was totally living through me. And, you know, I wanted to live my own life. I don't like people telling me too much what to do. So she says, well, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I want you to kind of go back, and we did some of these exercises. I want you to go back and think about all the things that you've wanted to do that you could do. She's like, but at that time, my mom is now 75. She was like, you know, 69 at that time. She's like, but well, what am I going to do now? I mean, I'm too old to do anything with my life, and I can't start over, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. I'm like, it's just like, and we tuned into how she'd always wanted to be a ballroom dancer, and how, you know, she wanted to be an athlete. Long story short, my mother now is a senior Olympic athlete. She has more medals on her wall than what you could possibly imagine. She runs, she does triathlons, she's a table tennis champion. After years of not doing anything, she decided at age 69 that she was going to become an athlete. And she also does board. By the way, I mean, my mother, every night, she's out at her training. She doesn't train, she just goes and competes. Her training, or how she stays in shape, is she goes ballroom dancing every night. She's at the Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale every night. She's out dancing. I mean, Anyway, so that's my mom, but you're never too old, and she's finally, I mean, now at 75, she's having the best time of her life. And so the important thing from that is that we're never too young or too old to really start enjoying our lives. You know, sometimes we just take life so seriously. You know, we take ourselves so seriously, and what Rosa was saying today was so important. You've got to have a sense of humor. We've got to start enjoying our lives. Let's get serious about enjoying our lives. Let's get serious about making a difference in our lives. Let's get serious about life. Let's not get serious. By the time we got off the airplane, the connecting flight in Charlotte, I had a connecting flight in Charlotte, I was like really wanting to go, right? So I'm walking off the plane like this, and so I see the ladies' room, and I'm like, oh God, you know, it's nearly there, nearly there. And I get to the ladies' room, and the place is packed, okay? And I'm like, oh no, oh no. And I look around, and I notice that the whole place is just like sparkling, and everybody's smiling, and everyone's so happy. And I'm in the ladies' room in the Charlotte airport. What's going on here? And all of a sudden, I hear this voice, this really, you know, wonderful voice saying to me, step up, young lady, step up over here. I've got a stall for you. So there was this restroom attendant, this janitor, she was beautifully dressed in this crisp uniform, and she's like motioning me to come to the one open stall that just opened up. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I get into the stall. Hey, you know, this is becoming a recurring theme. I'm just noticing, I think we've all talked about the bathroom up here, but anyway, that's not what we normally do at Silva conventions for those of you that are new. But anyway, so I'm in the stall, and I hear her saying to somebody, step up here, miss, come on here, miss. You may as well start smiling now, because once you take a seat, you're going to feel so much better, so you may as well start smiling. And then I get out of the restroom, and she's like singing, you are my sunshine, my only, and this is like a restroom attendant, right? She's singing away, and everything is sparkling. I mean, the whole place, everybody is just smiling and beaming. And I notice that along with the sinks are, she's got these empty containers, and people are just like putting money in, right? Because she's got all these, like, people are giving her tips. I mean, she's so fabulous. The place is spotless. I mean, you could have eaten off the floor. That's how clean it was. In an airport. And I said to her, because she kept on saying, step up here. There's no need to wait at Valerie's place, you know. And so I go, Valerie, I said, what makes you so happy? What makes you so, you know, what is it that makes you so happy? She goes, you know what? Being every morning when I wake up, just being above ground makes me happy. She says, I have an opportunity to come to work each and every day to make people smile. She said, everybody that comes in here leaves smiling. After that, it's up to them. So, you know, at that moment, it was really, you know, it was so coincidental. We're talking about programming coincidence, these coincidences, these moments in our lives. Just before that, I was writing my life purpose connection, the script for the life purpose connection. And I was like, you know, I need some great anecdotal things, you know, with a purpose versus not purpose. And there I was, it was right there for me. Thanks to this exercise, I'm telling you, thanks to the exercise, and thanks to Valerie. So the truth of the matter is that everything that we do here, and you know this, I'm just reminding you, everything we do is going to get you energized, get you where you need to be, and what you do from here, what you do after you leave here today it's all up to you. So on that note, I know that we've got some very hungry people in this room. So on that note, let me just say, God bless America.